Good evening, I'm John Opus, and this is your top story tonight. Snow is falling in Florida, yes, you heard that right. The Sunshine State is bracing for its first winter storm in over 35 years, with parts of the Florida Panhandle already experiencing snow accumulation. Social media has exploded with videos and images of this rare event, with one notable post coming from Casey DeSantis, the wife of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. She shared an image of a Florida Highway Patrol vehicle surrounded by snow, as flurries continued to fall, writing, "It's incredible to think that North Florida is expecting snow, sleet, ice, and extremely cold winds today and tonight." As of 2 p.m. Tuesday, the snow had not yet reached Duval County, but authorities warn that freezing rain could begin accumulating by 11 p.m. tonight, potentially sticking to surfaces through Wednesday morning. Residents in areas like northeast Florida and southeast Georgia are preparing for a harsh few days ahead.
We are preparing for the cold weather front that's moving across North Florida. We used to think Blizzard Beach was a theme park in Orlando. It turns out that we may see some snow on our beaches throughout the Northwest Florida and even into Tallahassee and beyond. I want to thank Kevin Guthrie, the Florida Division of Emergency Management Director, for being here. We also have other members of the team that have been working really hard in anticipation for something that we're not used to seeing, but something that can have significant impacts on the region. We do expect to see a mix of snow, sleet, freezing rain, or any combination thereof throughout North Florida today and into Wednesday morning. I think you're probably already seeing stuff in Pensacola now. The conditions are going to deteriorate here in Tallahassee probably within the next couple of hours. We are expecting snow in many parts of North Florida. The forecast now is 2 to 4 inches. It's possible you could have localized accumulation of up to 6 inches. I've asked my guys to go back and look at the historical record, and we've never had 6 inches accumulate in Florida based on the information that we had. So that's something that would be very, very noteworthy. Ice is expected in North Florida, particularly in the northeastern part of Florida. Extreme cold warning has been issued across the far western panhandle for wind chill values as low as 5 degrees, being possible cold weather advisories extend throughout North Florida for dangerously cold wind chills overnight Tuesday and into Wednesday morning. Winter storm warnings have been issued for the western Florida panhandle, with additional extensions eastward along the I-10 corridor in Duval County. Snowfall totals, as I mentioned, forecast between 2 to 4 inches, and we could break the Florida record. The weather is, of course, forecast to continue to worsen throughout the afternoon. Roads will ice before this time as the weather continues to cool, and so driving is one of the biggest hazards of cold weather. And I'll say a little bit more about that, but that's something that's really, really critical as we weather the next day and a half, 2 days. All non-essential state workers in the impacted areas are dismissed at 1 o'clock today. There are some state offices and counties in western Florida that have already closed or will be closing sooner. As of now, state offices in impacted areas will be closed tomorrow, Wednesday, January 22nd. Localities will make independent determinations about closures with respect to things that they have control over. So please listen to your local officials and your local emergency announcements. I don't have to tell anybody that we're not necessarily used to walking in a winter wonderland here in Florida. This is atypical weather for our region. Even northern Florida, which is traditionally cooler than southern Florida at this time of year, we are not used to seeing significant snow accumulation. Now, our infrastructure is designed differently than states that are used to this. I mean, if this were South Dakota, they would just shrug their shoulders. We are designed a little bit differently. Now, the state has done a lot to prepare, but I would say that you have the opportunity to just recognize that the road conditions, driving in icy conditions, can be very, very hazardous. And that's true anyways, but you also have Florida drivers, which, look, North Florida may not be the level of South Florida in terms of the driving. But when you are in these icy conditions, there's a lot that can go wrong. And if people have never driven in that before, it is just different driving in that. So we're advocating for people to stay off the roads if at all possible as these conditions continue to deteriorate. When we've had these freezes in the past, we have had some significant mishaps. I know 2012, 2018, that was before I was here, but there were some serious mishaps. Now, we have signed an executive order ahead of this anticipated weather. We are at a level 2 here at the State Emergency Operations Center. We're going to continue to work. Now, the Florida Department of Transportation has identified priority routes along I-10 and I-75 in North Florida. They've reviewed them for possible concerns like leaning trees, low electric lines. These are going to be priority corridors for pre-treatment and de-icing if necessary. FDOT did begin the pre-treatment of state-owned bridges, so over 600 bridges in the affected region for ice on Monday, and they have sprayed them for ice. They continue to renew the spray throughout the day between the rain events. Over 250 Florida Department of Transportation team members and nearly 200 pieces of heavy equipment stand ready to support with pre-stage items including de-icing chemicals, 11 snowplows, believe it or not, in the state of Florida. We're mobilizing snowplows. 120 truck spray rigs to distribute de-icing chemicals on roadways. 25 spreaders to distribute de-icing chemicals on roadways. Generators standing by for traffic signals as needed. And other heavy equipment including skid steers, tractors, front-end loaders, and chainsaws. Efforts are being made to prevent freezing on movable bridges by warming gearboxes and ensuring the ability for additional bridge movements if needed during extreme cold. 40 heavy equipment items have been operations across the north. Is working with Alabama and Georgia Department of Transportation to coordinate de-icing of shared bridges, particularly at state lines, to ensure safety and functionality. Rest areas and welcome center facilities have implemented winter weather plans and appropriate protocols to make sure those facilities remain functional. Way stations have increased staffing levels to ensure operations remain functional on our roads for commercial travel for as long as possible. FDOT Rangers have expanded overnight patrol service with a flexible approach to repositioning teams based on need across North Florida. Now, as of right now, all airports are open and operational. However, each airline determines cancellations for the flights that they are doing, and there have been cancellations that have already been issued, and we anticipate there likely will be more cancellations. And so if you're planning to fly into North Florida or fly out of over the next day, that could be something that the airlines will cancel. So just stay tuned on that, but anticipate that could happen. Several school districts across the Panhandle and Big Bend have also announced school closures in anticipation of dangerous weather conditions. For more information on school closures, go to fldoe.org/storm info. Some counties are opening cold weather shelters. Interruption in power possibility. I think Kevin will say a little bit more about it. We don't anticipate there being massive power outages on like a hurricane scale. I mean, we had 4.2 million without power at one point, cumulative for Milton. This would likely be a little bit more localized, but when you have freezing temperatures, you have problems with lines. Obviously, if the transmission is interrupted, you could have an interruption in service. So people should just be prepared for that. If you want to see if your county has a cold weather shelter open, go to floridadisaster.org/counties for updated information. Now, as for preparing yourself in your home, we are encouraging residents follow the 5 Ps of cold weather safety. These are not things most people in this state are probably familiar with, especially if you've never lived up north before. One is protect people. You wear multiple layers of clothing to keep warm, hats, gloves, scarves, thermal socks. Just assume that you may have an interruption of heat. If you don't have heat, then obviously that's going to be even more significant. Protect pets. If you are cold, they are cold. Bring your pets inside during cold weather or ensure they have proper shelter and warm bedding if kept outdoors. Protect pipes. Insulate water pipes in unheated areas and let faucets drip slightly to prevent freezing during cold spells. Protect plants. Bring your favorite plants indoors or cover them up with sheets or blankets so they don't freeze. Practice fire safety. Use space heaters safely. Don't use fuel-burning devices such as grills indoors. Now, I mentioned that we could have power outages. Resources are available. We're in contact with the utilities, both the investor-owned utilities as well as the co-ops. People are ready. If there is a need for more, we'll be able to facilitate that aid. I mean, similar to what we do during a hurricane, not the same pre-staging in terms of the massive numbers because we do anticipate it to be localized, but there are additional resources available if they need to mitigate power outages. So I would stress again, if you're in North Florida, you're to see throughout today, we anticipate tomorrow, whatever comes down is likely going to stick and stay throughout the day because we don't anticipate the temperatures getting warm enough to melt whatever is left behind. So you're likely looking at on Wednesday a snowy or icy day. Now, Jared Perdue and FDOT, they are going to be working on all state roads, bridges, and the 2 interstates. And they have salt, they have plows, they have things. They're going to work to get those roads open as soon as possible or safe as soon as possible. Your local roads is really going to be dependent on what your county does or what your city does. So you need to listen to what they're doing. If they're not doing anything to clear it or mitigate it, then that's another reason to stay off of those local roads. And so for the rest of the day today and throughout tomorrow, it's not advised to go out and be on these roadways. We've got a lot of assets standing by for the state portion of this, and they will deploy those, and they would do a good job. But you are going to have a period of time where there's going to be hazards. So avoid any mishaps on the road. And I can tell you, as somebody that was born and raised in this state, that had never seen snow in this state, when you're in that environment and you're driving, if you're used to driving in Florida, it is different. When you do the brakes, there's all these things. You can skid, you can slide. So just be very, very careful. And if you don't need to be out, just stay indoors and let it all. And it'll get taken care of. It's gonna get a little bit warmer. I mean, it's still gonna be pretty cold, but it'll be warm enough eventually for all this stuff to melt away. So stay informed. Monitor weather alerts for cold weather warnings. You can follow Florida's state emergency management response team. Twitter is at FLSERT. We also have, of course, FloridaDisaster.org. I want to thank the folks on our team, Jared Perdue, Kevin Guthrie, other folks who, when we saw that this was coming, whenever they started having the news of it a week or two ago, said, all right, what's the deal? What do we have for salt? What do we have for this, all this? And you've seen a lot of resources mobilized. So I thank them for doing that. This is not typically the type of disaster or emergency situation that we're used to responding to. But because of that, we're taking it seriously. And as I said, if this were South Dakota or Minnesota, this is probably something that they're just used to all the time. Not something that we're used to having in the state of Florida. So we're taking appropriate precautions. Kevin?
The storm is already affecting operations across the region, with multiple school closures reported in Duval County, Camden County, and other local districts. In Georgia, snow is expected to begin by 7 p.m. and continue through early Wednesday morning, impacting areas to the north and west of Waycross. Stay tuned for more updates as this historic weather event unfolds. We'll continue to monitor the situation here at BAN Network News. I'm John Opus. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
JLR investigates. Snow, Florida. Welcome to Florida. And there is snow on the ground. There's snow on the pavement. There's snow on the palm trees. There's snow on the cars. There's snow everywhere, folks. It's Snowmageddon here in Florida, right at the state line. I'm in a place called Century, Florida. And wow, look at this. Look at this. Crazy, folks. Here you go. And then you got snow, palm trees, and snow. Palm trees and snow. Century. You got the grocery store. People are stocking up on groceries. Century. So this is in the western panhandle of Florida, right on the Alabama border. How much snow are they going to get here? How much snow are they going to get here? Are they going to get an inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches? 4 inches is the record in Milton, which is about an hour from this location, just by Pensacola. I would say it's been snowing here for over an hour, about an hour, hour 15 minutes, and there's already an inch of snow on the ground. And the worst is coming. This is not the worst of it. We're just at the beginning stages. So there definitely could be records broken with this record-breaking snow in Florida. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is history. Cars are moving very, very slowly. Slush already. And there's the Alabama state line. I am JLR Investigates. Boots on the ground. Subscribe to the channel, like, hit the notification button. Storm chasing. History being made right here. I think so. We'll talk soon. Look, and it's not even heavy and wet. It's fluffy. Woo! Temperature's like 29 degrees here. So it's not one of those heavy, wet snows. Wild stuff. We'll talk soon. Stay tuned.